Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor to introduce Mr. Aayush Mittal, a leader par excellence who has not only worked with industry giants such as Tech Mahindra, Tata Consultancy Services, Amazon, and Apple, but has consistently thrived in environments characterized by high performance standards and intense pressures. Mr. Mittal's remarkable journey serves as an inspiration for all aspiring professionals, particularly those with a dream to make a mark in the developed countries. Today, he stands as a seasoned senior database engineer, currently spearheading the Apple online store engineering team in Sunnyvale, California. His trajectory, marked by continuous growth and success, underscores his exceptional leadership abilities in navigating diverse and challenging landscape. His educational journey laid a solid foundation for his illustrious career. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering honors in computer science. He is a certified Oracle database professional as well as a subject matter expert in the field of databases with a creative and growth mindset. In the field of data science, he has continued his passion for completing his certification from University of California, Berkeley Extension. During a brief visit to India, he has graciously carved out time from his demanding schedule in Bengaluru to participate in our Learning from Leaders series. We extend a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Aayush Mittal.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me over.
So, Mr. Mittal, we would directly shoot the first question at you. Given the increasing global concerns about potential unemployment resulting from artificial intelligence, as an IT expert, how do you perceive this transformative shift? Do you believe that there need to be genuine concerns about it? And if yes, what proactive measures would you recommend for individuals to prepare for the uncertainties ahead?
Artificial intelligence is absolutely new. People are excited about it. People are fearful about it. Some people are looking at the glass is half full. Some are looking at that it's half empty. So how I look at it is that it's a very it's an evolving moment for the human mankind.
Right.
Yes, the technology is feeling like scary that it would take jobs away. People are concerned about it, but this is a J-curve moment for the human mankind. So
J-curve.
Yeah, so you can say J-curve moment, or you can say a hockey stick moment,
Alright.
where you see exponential growth
Okay.
in a human mankind's life, right?
Okay.
If you look at IT, right, when the computers came in, people were like, everything will get automated, and then what are the people going to do? They're going to take the jobs away. But did that happen? No. It really took, so many new roles came in, people got jobs because of that. Look at the IT industry, it has boomed because of it.
Right.
And that's how I look at it. It's going to basically bring more and more jobs. It may take few jobs away, but it'll bring new roles.
Okay.
New roles like prompt engineering. And that's a
Right.
very new
Yes.
kicked off role where people are getting interested to know more about it. So you don't need to be concerned. I don't feel that you're supposed to be concerned. I feel you need to upgrade your skill sets. Figure out what are the new roles going to be. Research about it, that what artificial intelligence would need from you to have and get into those newer roles. And that's pretty much it. That's how I look at that.
Great. So our viewers should note it that there's no reason to be so much concerned that artificial intelligence is a big uncertainty and is going to be very threatening. Instead, they need to focus on upgrading themselves. This is the advice from you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now we move on to our next question, that how do you perceive the confidence and the career outlook? How does it differ between those students who are graduating from premier institutes like IITs, IIMs, AIMS, as compared to those who are graduating from private institutions? So based on your own experience, what advice would you offer to students who are passing out from the not so renowned institutions, who generally get very stressed that we are not going to make it because we are not from the best? So what would you say?
That's a very interesting question. Thanks for asking, because usually that's something that we hear around students or people who are new to the industry
Right.
and haven't done their engineering or any sort of courses that they pursue from a renowned IIT, IIM or any such colleges.
Right.
I can take my own example. I did my engineering from a very regular private engineering college. The only thing that what I always thought of is to not drop the ball. You have to make sure that you keep continuing your passion. Reading is important. You have to read, you have to know about your surroundings. My total experience in the industry is approximately 15 years. Back, if you go 15 years back, internet was there, but the amount of information that is there now, the abundance is significantly large, right? So
Right.
that whole piece of information is so easily available to people now. So they can go read either on the internet, they can read the books, they can read the blogs. Now podcasts, like that's like the go-to thing where people are driving and listening to podcasts. So that helps to know about the surroundings, and that way you can always take a leap forward. Yes, the IITs and IIMs are giving you the first step forward, which is a very strong platform, because you can get into bigger brands like maybe Mercedes, maybe BMWs, any of these like Apple, Facebook, Twitter, or like say X now. So yes, they recruit from there. So people who start from there, yes, they could get a good start, but that doesn't stop people from getting into those companies like us who haven't done their engineering or from the bigger brands and bigger colleges. So you shouldn't just confine yourself thinking that, oh, I didn't do it from a bigger brand or a bigger college, a very renowned college. I think the other next important thing is that you have to find a mentor.
Okay.
Mentorship is very important. That's something that is from my personal experience. I got really good mentors. I was lucky, I would say. The other is I was also looking for some mentors who can be from such renowned colleges. I mean, we can always play it the other way around. You
Right.
find people in your organization where you have people coming from IITs and IIMs. Talk to them, speak to them. They'll always be happy to help.
Right.
I have been lucky enough to get such mentors. So mentorship is very, very important. Then there are 4 P's that I usually talk about.
Oh.
One is the purpose. What is your purpose? Like, what are you really willing to do? Then, what is your passion?
Okay.
Right? You have to go towards your passion. You can't just say that it didn't work out, so I am just going to switch my direction to something else. So you have to continue towards your passion, which basically brings you to the persistence. You have to be persistently hardworking towards your goal, right?
Okay.
And the last one is patience, because everything that you would do would not reap fruits and results would not arrive so quickly. You have to be patient enough. Sometimes it takes years. It has happened to me. It has taken years. So my first job, like my first job in the States was Amazon.
Okay.
It took me approximately 6 to 8 months just for applying jobs, and I couldn't make through any interviews at all. And I felt that, am I good enough? And yes, the patience paid off, because at the end it was Amazon who called me for an interview and I could get through. So what happens for a good. You have to be patient enough. So those are the 4 P's that I would
Great.
always.
You know, I was just thinking that many a times people get confused and they are not able to understand whether they are really passionate about it. So, do you know of any person in your life, maybe family, maybe at workplace, who you can say is very passionate about something, so that people have an idea what is it to be passionate?
Yes, I can take example of my son.
Oh.
My older one, he wishes to play NBA.
What's his name?
His name is Prayan,
Okay.
and Prayan wants to be an NBA player.
Okay.
And now, being an NBA player, if you want to play basketball, you need to be very tall. You need to be tall enough. As Indians do not usually have genes of being so tall, right? So I always give him a reality check. But his passion keeps him going. That even if whatever happens, I would still not stop trying.
Okay. Okay.
He has started playing league matches. A couple of days back, it was his first league match that he won for his team. So that did boost his confidence that yes, he can do it. But it's always a steep learning curve. I always look at it as a pyramid. When you start climbing in the beginning, it's going to be much simpler. The results are going to be much faster. But then as you move on, it just gets steeper and steeper and gets difficult. So you have to be passionate. You can't just drop the ball, as I said, and you have to continue. So I can relate the closest with my son.
Great example. I'm sure that people can easily understand now that what it means to be passionate. So moving on to the third question now. I have seen you since many years and you have evolved impressively, I can say. Now, you've consistently demonstrated a commitment to your roots, embodying ideals as playing the exceptional role as a son, as a brother, as a father, as a husband. So, my question is that in a rapidly evolving modern environment, why do you find it important to stay grounded in your cultural heritage? Number one, and can you share your insights on how to strike a balance between tradition and culture on one hand, while navigating the demands of contemporary life on the other?
So what I feel about this is that you need to be very observant. Because I live in a different country, I see diversity all around me. I have to be very observant about the ethnicity of the people, how they talk, how they listen to you. So you have to be a very good listener. I've seen people being very, very good listeners so that they can really carve out the most important part out of the conversation.
Okay.
So you have to be very, very good listener. This is for something that I always feel, that patiently listen somebody is part of my 4 P's. Being patient, patiently listen people, be very observant, be observant around about your surroundings. When you are in a conference, when you're in a meeting, you need to see how people are talking. What are they saying? You have to be a very good listener. So being observant and good listener is very, very important. Okay. From my perspective. That helps me a lot. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders have always spoken about. Now relating to the culture, right? So like in Indian culture we have always closely knit families. That's what Indian culture is about, right? There are so many things, but I think the first thing that comes in everyone's family is like, be well knit, be with your brothers and sisters, be with your cousins, be like your extended family. You should know people around, right? So I think that closely relates with what sort of work that you do in your organization. And why? Because when we were children, right, we were always playing around with our friends, cousins, our siblings in the same room. We were like a team, right? If we would fight, but we would have good moments, we'll have bad moments, we'll be able to console people, we'll be empathetic, we'll be sympathetic. So that's all what we have learned in our culture growing up, right? Now the same thing is what you have to just go and implement as is in your organization. If you're part of a team, that your team is like a family. Yes, you have different opinions. Yes, you will talk to them in a form that you will say, maybe I don't agree with you, but you have to be polite enough to them. You have to be empathetic because you don't know what's going on in another person's life. That's exactly what you do in your family. So if you do that, then it basically makes a much, much better team. A much better output comes out of it. You will have better moments, you will have success, you will have failure, you have to enjoy both. So that's how I look at it.
It's a beautiful thought that your team is like a family. So that's very new to me. Wonderful. So we do understand from Mr. Mittal that number one, if you are in a very different culture, you need to be very observant. And number two, you need to be a good listener, because generally we think that a good listener is not such an important trait, but it is according to him. And then the team may have conflicts, but then conflicts are good. That's another point of view. So that's beautiful. Now let's move on to the last question.
Sure.
I would like to ask you that when contemplating a move abroad, particularly to a country like the US, individuals often face numerous challenges. So based on your experience, could you highlight some key challenges aspiring expatriates should be prepared for? And moreover, did you navigate and how did you overcome those challenges in your own journey? So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that is there any specific advice that you want to offer to the younger generation who want to move to another country and be successful career-wise?
Sure. I can take my own example on that. So I moved to the States almost 10 years back. When we moved, my wife, she was 8th month expecting. We took a very difficult decision of moving at that moment of our life. Right. It wasn't a very supported moment from the family. I think everyone can understand that. Yeah. But we did take that decision of moving abroad when she was expecting. And then the challenge there were multiple challenges. I did not know the country. I did not know how people would behave with me. I did not know the medical system. I didn't know who will be the doctor, who will be delivering the baby. There were so many unknowns. But the only thing that we were looking at, the goal was, if we could get a US passport for my son, or who is Prayan, then it's something that will be good for his life, right? So we made a decision. Everyone makes a decision for their kids. So that's how we made the decision. It was like, there's a clear rationale behind it. Yes, there were difficult decisions also alongside. All our investments in India. There are so many things that I can just keep talking about, but trying to keep it short, the challenges were more to look in the form that you have to keep going. You can't stop saying that, oh, these are the challenges, I'll not do it, or I'll not move towards this. Just figure out one rationale and stick to it. We did stick to it, and it has paid off well. Now, coming from the piece of advice on that, I think risk-taking appetite is very, very important. And that's exactly what I did, right? It was a risk that we took. So risk-taking appetite is important, because if you don't take the risk, you won't make it big. If you want to make it big, you have to take some risks in your life. You can't play safe. So that's number one. Then there's a lot of information nowadays on the internet that people read. Like the way I said, right? There are podcasts, there's so much news around, there's so many push notifications that you get on your phone. That too much information also makes it difficult for people to make decisions, right? So you have to figure out your top 5 priorities. You have to identify the rationale, which is the most important for you, and you make that decision. Else, I see a lot of people today are not able to make decisions faster. They take too long, and by then it's too late for them. So you have to be quick. You don't have to be very fast, but you have to be quick with deciding your rationale, deciding your priorities, and based on that you make a decision. Don't take too much of information. That too much of information actually sometimes troubles you to make that decision. So even if there's much more information with you, just list out top 5 priorities and make your decision. I think that's one bigger advice that I can give to today's generation.
Right. So that's a very clear thought process that he has put before our viewers. So we are very grateful to you, Mr. Aayush Mittal, for sharing your experience, then the examples from your own life with our viewers. We truly appreciate it. So I would like to summarize the key learnings from our leader, Mr. Aayush Mittal. The first one that he stated is upgrade yourself continuously. So for that, you may need to read, you may need to listen to podcasts. These are few of our suggestions. Secondly, even if you're not from a very premier institute, there is no reason to lose hope. You need to find a good mentor who's going to advise you, who's going to, suggest certain things which will help you grow upwards and onwards. Thirdly, we have got a very beautiful mantra from him of the 4 P's, and we add to it the 5th P also given by him. So the 4 P's according to him are, you should be clear about your purpose or your goals. So you need to have a vision, where you want to reach, how you want to go about it. Secondly, he's talked about being very passionate, where he gave us a beautiful example about his son, Prayan. Thirdly, he's talked about being persistent. You cannot give up. You have to go on and on. Fourthly, he has talked about being patient, because sometimes things don't happen quickly. You have to have a waiting time. And fifthly, he's talked about prioritizing. At least the top 5 things should be clear, and then you can work on them. Another input that we have got from him, especially while adjusting to the cultures outside our own country, are, number 1, you need to be very observant, and as a good communicator, you need to be a good listener as well. Team is like a family. That's the most beautiful thought I have heard today. And finally, he reminds me of a book I read long back, Future Shock by Alvin Toffler, who also spoke about the shock or the uncertainties that we all are going to face in future. And therefore, referring to what Mr. Mittal just mentioned, we need to be risk takers. We cannot get into our shell and move forward simultaneously. And finally, he's given us 2-3 pieces of advice, in which, besides risk taking, the second one is that we should have bounded rationality. Too much of information sometimes confuses us, and therefore, based on limited information, we should be able to take quick decisions. So thank you so much. I hope you've learned a lot from this young youth icon of a leader, Mr. Aayush Mittal, in our Learning from Leaders series. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.